Yeah, let's fill in this spaces, please. Oh, y'all not gonna listen to me. You don't know I'm a black mom. Move up. Move up. Come on. With kindness. Come on up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Good morning. I want to welcome everybody here by saying Uhuru. Uhuru means freedom in Kiswahili, which is a trade language that's widely spoken in parts of Africa. So Uhuru. We're so happy that you chose to participate in the Uhuru Furniture MLK Day program and doing the same work and struggle that MLK led for African freedom, self-determination, and economic development. And it gives everyone from all walks of life a way to contribute to the positive forward motion of history. I'm Dr. Michelle Strongfield, your MC for today, and I volunteer at Uhuru Furniture because I know the value of finding those of like mind, working toward the same goal, and those who are willing to work just as hard as I do for the liberation of African and poor people. I work with Uhuru because I need more than collaborators. I need co-conspirators. Some housekeeping notes. We ask everyone to please mute your phones. I'm looking for Stephen Fields. Mute your phone, honey.
It's behind you.
Oh, okay, gotta watch it. Please mute your phones. During the presentations, we'll have a time later in the program for questions and an open mic. You can come up and say why you chose to volunteer at Uhuru Furniture on MLK Day. And finally, there's a restroom in the back if you need to go. I want to begin by recognizing leadership. The founder and leader of the Uhuru Movement, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who's led the Uhuru Movement since the 1960s and is responsible for the existence of this institution and many others. We'll be showing a video statement from the chairman at this MLK event. I also want to acknowledge the direct leadership of Uhuru Furniture, Deputy Chair Ona Zene Yeshitela, who is the president of the African People's Education and Defense Fund and leads all the Uhuru Movement institutions of economic development throughout the world. She's brought so much to the development of this store and led the way for Uhuru Furniture to survive and even thrive during this really tough economic period. UFC Philly opened in 1994 as part of the APEDF mission to end the disparities faced by the Black community in every aspect of life: health, education, economic self-reliance, and basic human rights. UFC makes top quality, low-priced furniture and housewares available in the underserved Black community in North Philly, and also hires, trains, and creates jobs and volunteer opportunities. This is much more than a regular store. If you've ever been here, you know that. You can come here, you can party, you can do some serious development work, and you collaborate with others of like mind. So this is way more than just a furniture store, and has been since day one. This is a Black community-led self-reliance institution, one of over 50 institutions the Uhuru Movement has built around the U.S. and the world to transform the oppressive conditions of life faced by African people everywhere. APEDF is organizing our African community to feed, clothe, house, and employ themselves. This is what we mean by building African self-determination. It's real. We are building institutions, particularly right now in St. Louis, to push back gentrification, revitalize and uplift impoverished African communities, and create a model for what needs to be done to transform the conditions of life for African people right here in Philadelphia and in every city and in the world. Everyone who's participating in MLK Day is making an important contribution to this work. Historic leaders like Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and the Panthers fought for African self-determination and economic development, but the conditions of life for the African community are worse today than in the 50s and 60s. Greater levels of poverty, homelessness, and imprisonment. Here in Philly before COVID, there was a 23-year disparity in the life expectancy of a black baby born in Strawberry Mansion and a white baby born in Fairmount. 23 years. That disparity has now increased by at least 2 years. Also, before COVID, in this majority African and Puerto Rican city, only 2.5% of all businesses were black owned. An estimated 55% of those businesses were forced to close due to COVID. That is what we're contending with. And this is why your participation and support of this institution is so very crucial. We're excited to open this program with a live drum and spoken word performance by 2 incredible cultural workers. And they dress nice too. They better not put this stuff down. Okay. Excuse me, I'm sorry for that departure. I lost my place. Anyway, 2 really talented women are going to come and open the program for us. They're longtime friends of the Uhuru Movement, powerful percussionist Karen Magic Fingers Smith, and a performance by artist Rhonda Rise. Thank you, sisters. Come on.
Oh, thanks.
Uhuru. Uhuru. Peace. Peace. Love. Power. Unity. That's why we're here today, right? We are here in solidarity. We are here to empower each other, to learn, to grow, to expand. And, you know, we're here celebrating the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So can we clap for that? Can we clap for the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and clap for each other for just showing up today, because that says a lot, to just show up. And that's what we need when it comes to this liberation, when it comes to this movement. It's about showing up and supporting each other. And I'm just happy to be here today with my friend Karen Smith. And so we don't have water. We want to do a bit of a libation, but just imagine, oh, we do have water. A cup, a cup.
carpenter. We don't want to use plastic, the sister said. So we want to pour libation. We want to pour, first of all, we just want to give thanks to our higher power. Give thanks to that divine spirit that guides us. We want to thank that higher power for bringing us here today. Ashe. We want to thank those, our ancestors, who came through the Middle Passage. The ones who did not make it and the ones who did, we give thanks. We give thanks for their lives. We give thanks to those who not only came through the Great Ma'afa, through the transatlantic slave trade, but we give thanks to our ancestors, our enslaved ancestors, who shed blood, sweat, and tears for us to be here today. We want to say ashe to them. We want to give thanks to all of the freedom fighters and political prisoners who have fought on our behalf for our freedom and liberation, dignity and respect. We say ashe. And I just want to give thanks to all of our familial ancestors who made it possible for us to be here today. We say ashe. And we just give thanks once again for everyone being here today. And we say ashe, 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 ashe. And we can pour this water in a plant. There's a plant here. It doesn't have to be now, but at some point before the end of the program, we can pour this water into some soil. Thank you. We will not bow down to racism. We will not bow down to injustice. We will not bow down to exploitation. I'm gonna They asked us how we got over and we're still making it through. They asked us and they wonder how we got over gonna keep walking, we're gonna keep talking, we're gonna keep marching up to freedom land. Freedom for our bodies, freedom for our mind, freedom for our spirit, freedom for our lives, freedom for our bodies, freedom for our minds, freedom for our spirit, freedom for our lives. They wonder how we made it over. They be wondering how we made it over and how we still making it through. Because it's about that freedom. Freedom for our body, freedom for our mind, freedom for our spirit. For voices to inspire and help to motivate the movement, one of the voices he called upon was Nina Simone. Nina Simone was on fire for her people, and she was on fire unapologetically. So I want to do this next piece in honor of Dr. King, in honor of Nina Simone, and all of the freedom fighters and ancestors who made it possible for us to be here today. Ashe. Of all of us. She, he, we, all of us. She be wild. Wild is the wind. She came in determined, raging like a tornado. She came to shake things up, wake us up out of slumber, show us that when we come together, there is power in numbers, and she possessed this personal power that had the potential to motivate the masses, to move, transform, facilitate change for the better, a force to be reckoned with. She came to challenge the establishment, speak truth to power, devour the lies, making songs cry, wail, weep, making her music speak as a sounding board for the people, ministering to us through song, through each melody and syllable, righting the wrongs of this nation. These songs were the sermons we needed to elevate our consciousness, uplift our self-esteem and pride, and remind us of the beauty and power of blackness. Black and beautiful, black and proud, and validated. This young, gifted, and black queen, our Beethoven, our Bach, her voice could not be stopped, crying out, Mississippi, goddamn. She took us to the border to replenish our souls, to cleanse us, to clear away that hatred, oppression, and injustice that stood in the way of our wellness, our peace, and our freedom. With the force and turbulence of waters raging and storms burning, she was born to make manifest our greatness. He was born, Dr. King was born to manifest our greatness, pushing past the boundaries, breaking through the barriers, undeniable, defiant, resistance, in your face, take no less, commanding attention, demanding respect. She came correct, while correcting broken systems through melodious brilliance and black excellence, killing them with intelligence and grace and pure genius. See, we be this, we breathe this, we breathe this. Cause when we speak, the world stops and listens. Through our songs, our sermons, our rhymes, and our rhythms, moving mountains and legislations, making the powers that be pay attention and remind us that we are the power. 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 Ashe. Thank you, Lord. And all the guys, Smith, thank you so much for having us, Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Can we give it up for this? Not only am I going to jerk you for you, but we need to talk about collaboration.
Oh, yes, yes.
All right. See how this goes? This is a place where people meet and interact and find common ground and move forward. I love that. Okay, Sister Karen and Sister Rhonda, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Brought some fire. I have cutters. Okay. I can't even remember the damn name. I was so inspired by it. But Nina. Oh my God. Nina is somebody who I really love. She's not an acquired taste. She's just a taste. Just get with her, listen to the lyrics of the music, and you'll be moved and inspired as we are this morning. Thank you, sisters. I appreciate it. We always start our MLK volunteer projects by presenting some of the true history from the perspective of African poor and working people. We're the ones who built the wealth of this country. I don't know if anybody's been paying attention to all this Prince Harry madness that's been going on with this book. Okay, you haven't. You're good. You're smart. But I watched the news and he's been talking about how the royal family got their wealth. Well, how do you think they got their wealth? None of them work. This man, 73 years old, got his first job after his mama died. Come on. How do you think these people acquired wealth? On the backs of the people that they systematically oppressed, colonized, stole from. You know, there's a whole big fuss at the library, at the museums now about returning what was stolen. And this is all part of the same cloth. So we're the ones who built the wealth in this country. Oh, poor and working who don't look like the oppressor, and you know who that is. We're the ones who built the wealth. There's never been a time when our people did not fight for freedom. You know, we all know the stories about Harriet, Denmark Vesey, Nat Turner, but there are so many other courageous leaders who've been written out of history. Today there's a holiday for MLK, and streets named after MLK, and this and that named after MLK. But do you know, until recently, people had to fight these last few states to even recognize him? That we think that the Stevie Wonder song is just the Black birthday song. It's not. It was a song that came from struggle to get this man recognized and to have a holiday in his name. During our lifetime, King and the movement for Black rights challenged the status quo of America, and he was targeted, arrested, slandered, and ultimately killed by the FBI. Malcolm X took the movement led by King further, calling not only for equal rights, but for the right to have power in our own hands, to control our own communities, and to have Black power. We're going to start with some videos of the history of the struggle for the civil rights with Malcolm X speaking. Thank you, Brother Harris.
Human civilization began in Africa and flourished for thousands of years. African people had developed sciences, healthy communities, a prosperous economy, and rich culture. When Europeans were poor and hungry in the 1400s, they attacked Africa and began 600 years of theft, enslavement, rape, and overall oppression of African people. The European and U.S. economies were built off of African labor and resources stolen at gunpoint. Africans have always resisted this oppression, from Queen Nzinga, who led armies to hold up slavers in West Africa for 30 years, to Harriet Tubman, who led over 300 enslaved Africans to freedom in the U.S., to Marcus Garvey, who in the early 1900s built an organization with over 11 million members and supporters, United for African Freedom and Independence. Even after the U.S. officially ended chattel slavery, there were laws to keep Africans locked into an unjust, parasitic social system. But the African community fought this too. In the segregated South, the African community was increasingly resisting the extreme oppression from the U.S. government and white society. A turning point in this resistance, which gave birth to the civil rights movement of the 1950s, was the Montgomery bus boycott.
It started with a woman named Rosa Parks in Montgomery. And Montgomery, like all of the South, had segregated buses. In interstate buses like this one, and in city buses, the whites sat in the front, the blacks in back. If more whites got on, the blacks had to give them the middle and back seats too. On December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat to a white passenger.
The front seats were occupied, and there's one man, a white man, standing. And at this point, the driver asked us to stand up and let him have those seats. And when none of us moved at his first words, he said, "Y'all make it light on yourselves and let me have those seats." And when the policeman coached me, one of them spoke and asked me to drive had asked me to stand. I said, yes. He said, why don't you stand up? I said, I don't think I should have to stand up. And I asked him, I said, why do you push us around? He said, I do not know, but the law is the law, and you're under arrest.
This was not the first time a black person had defied the bus segregation in Montgomery. It was not Mrs. Parks' first time. It was her first arrest. Edie Nixon went to the police station to bail her out. Edie Nixon and other black leaders called for a one-day bus boycott. In some cities, it would have been impossible to organize 40,000 people in 2 days. But Black Montgomery had a core of activists in the Women's Political Council. and they distributed these boycott notices all over the city.
The bus passed right down in front of my house, and I got up to see it, and several buses passed. I was late for work because I was trying to see how many buses were empty, and they were totally empty.
The one-day boycott was a success. That night, a mobilized black community turned out for a meeting at the Holt Street Baptist Church and voted unanimously to continue the boycott. The keynote speaker at Holt Street Church was a new preacher in town, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was only 26 and was almost unknown outside his own congregation. King wasn't sure he should accept when his fellow ministers and other leaders asked him to head the new Montgomery Improvement Association and the boycott. But they wanted him in part because he was new in Montgomery. Before the boycott, 2/3 of the bus riders were black. After December 5th, there were almost no blacks at the segregated bus stops or on the buses. They walked, and they created a complex system that used private cars to carry thousands of people each day.
Ask for persons who had cars and would voluntarily put them in the transportation pool to let us know and what time they could be used. And in that way, we could know who would have cars and where they had to go to pick up people. People would call in and say, I'm out here on Cloverdale Road at such and such a block, and I'll be ready at such and such a time. But this was being done all through the day, and we would know what time they were supposed to be picked up and where they were.
It was really surprising because we thought, well, maybe some of the people would continue to ride the bus. But after all, they had been mistreated and been mistreated in so many different ways until I guess they were tired. And they just decided that they just wouldn't ride.
The black community was inspired by its own success. They held meetings with the mayor and the bus company and found they could stand up to the city commissioners. The boycott's second Christmas was approaching. Downtown stores were hurt, but neither the city nor the marchers would compromise. On November 13, 1956, the U.S. Supreme Court broke the deadlock, ruling unanimously that Montgomery's bus segregation was unconstitutional. That day, the Ku Klux Klan rode and walked the black neighborhoods again. This time, the blacks just watched, unmoved and unafraid.
The decision rendered by the Supreme Court yesterday was a victory. And it was a victory for colored folks. Doggone that victory, that's small. It wasn't a victory for 50,000 Negroes in Montgomery. It wasn't merely a victory for 16 million Negroes of America. That was a victory for justice and goodwill. Now, what will be our mode of action in the light of this decision? After thinking through this question very seriously, the Executive Board of the Montgomery Improvement Association recommends that the 11-month-old protest against the city buses will be called off, and that the Negro citizens of Montgomery, Alabama will return to the buses on a non-segregated basis. Are you ready for the question? All in favor, let it be known by standing on your feet. It seems that it is carried unanimously.
If the Negro is to be free, he must move down into the inner resources of his own soul and sign with the pen and ink of self-assertive manhood his own emancipation proclamation. Don't let anybody take your manhood. Be proud of Our heritage, as somebody said earlier tonight, we don't have anything to be ashamed of. Somebody told a lie one day. They couched it in language. They made everything black, ugly, and evil. Look in your dictionary and see the synonyms of the word black. There's always something degrading and low and sinister. Look at the word white. It's always something pure, high, clean. But I want to get the language right tonight. I want to get the language so right that everybody here will cry out, yes, I'm black, I'm proud of it, I'm black and beautiful.
Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated on April 4th, 1968 by the U.S. government under COINTELPRO, the FBI's counterintelligence program. But that was not the end. From the civil rights movement of the 1950s emerged the Black Power movement of the 1960s, headed by powerful leaders such as Malcolm X.
We are African, and we happen to be in America. We're not American. We are people who formerly were Africans who were kidnapped and brought to America. Our forefathers weren't the pilgrims. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock was landed on us. We were brought here against our will. We were not brought here to be made citizens. We were not brought here to enjoy the constitutional gifts that they speak so beautifully about today. Because we weren't brought here to be made citizens today, now that we've become awakened to some degree and we begin to ask for those things which they say are supposedly for Americans, they look upon us with hostility and unfriendliness. If you're interested in freedom, you need some judo, you need some karate, you need all the things that will help you fight for freedom. Nationalism is the wave of the present and the future. It is nationalism that's bringing freedom to oppressed people all over the world. It was nationalism that brought freedom to the Algerians. It was nationalism that brought freedom to the Nigerians and to the Ghanaians. It was nationalism that brought freedom to the people of Uganda and Tanganyika and Sudan and Somaliland. The Africans didn't get it by sitting in. They didn't get it by waiting in. They didn't get it by singing "We Shall Overcome." They got it through nationalism. And you and I will get it through nationalism. What is it? What is it that makes it difficult for the philosophy of nationalism to spread among the so-called Negroes? Number one, they think they have a stake in America. They think they have an investment in this country. What we do? We invested 310 years of slave labor. 310 years, every day of which your and my mother and father worked for nothing. Not 8 hours a day. There was no union in that day. They worked from sun up until sundown. From can't see in the morning until can't see at night. They never had a day off. And on Sunday they were allowed to sit down and sing about when they died, they wouldn't be slaves no more. When they died, they wouldn't be slaves no more. They broke in the sky and every day would be Sunday. That's a shame. And it is that 310 years of slave labor that went in, that was mine and your contribution into this particular economy and political system. They can give us the best pay. Let's join in. If this is what the Negro wants, let's join in. Let's show him how to struggle. Let's show him how to fight. Let's show him how to bring about a real revolution. Let's make him stop time.
1969, the U.S. government had killed Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and more than 28 members of the Black Panther Party, including Chairman Fred Hampton, one of its most important leaders, and many other courageous African leaders. But the Uhuru Movement, under the leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela, has never stopped struggling to keep the Black Power movement alive. The Uhuru Movement has moved forward on many fronts to lead the work toward African freedom and self-determination today. As Black Panther leader Huey P. Newton said, you might not have the Black Panther Party, but you have the Uhuru House. You might not have the Black Panther newspaper, but you have the Bernie Spear. So they haven't done anything by crushing one organization.
The only thing they say about King is that he believed in nonviolence. And that is not saying anything about who Martin Luther King was. Martin Luther King was a very important force. I did not agree with the philosophy of Martin Luther King, with the tactics and strategy of Martin Luther King and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference that he created. I was not a part of a movement or a general tendency that accepted that. But none of us were unaffected by the presence of King and what King was about. Also, the thing that's really important about King that should be understood and remembered is King was bound in a very serious way to a philosophy, and one that he took quite seriously. He was not some fly-by-night person who was here for whatever happened to be right now and shifted his position to represent that. King was killed on April 4th, and he was killed in Memphis, Tennessee. And he was killed after he stepped out on the balcony from a Lorraine hotel where he was staying. Isn't that right? And the place that he was shot from, they say, was a rooming house across the way from that place. And not only was it a rooming house, but it was a rooming house that had a common toilet, community bathroom, where a lot of different people on that floor use the same toilet, use the same bathroom. And you and I are supposed to believe that this white guy was able to go there, take a rifle, go to the bathroom, and wait for King to come out on the balcony. How in the hell would he know when King was going to come out on the balcony? How could you be in a community bathroom where anybody might come in anytime at all, sitting up with a rifle, I hope he comes out now, I hope he comes out, and knowing that he's going to come out before somebody comes in to use the bathroom? Somebody got King out of on that balcony and killed King and took away a leader of the movement and then gave Negroes a holiday. So you have a holiday, but you don't have a movement anymore. And that was the objective, to destroy a revolutionary movement. Did you listen to what you heard just now, just a few minutes we heard from King's speech? That's on that speech he also said that America is the greatest purveyor of violence in the world. King said that. Anybody who saw the last speech that King made is very clear that King knew he was going to die. He had been told over and over again by Hoover, he had there tried to make him commit suicide, etc. But he did not compromise on his belief. And he stood there. That's why he had to go to the mountaintop. I've been to the mountaintop, he said. I've been to the mountaintop. And I saw ourselves as the free people. I may not get there with you, but I know we will get to the mountaintop. And he knew he wasn't going to place because he knew the American government was going to kill him. And I think it's really important to say that the American government killed Martin Luther King. I think that's very important to say the American government killed Martin Luther King. And there's reason that we can say that, of course, is because even today they talk about how they love King and they respect King, and Barack Hussein Obama, most reactionary white people in the world come out about King, and they use King against us. They tell us that King was about you judge somebody on the content of their character and not on some other kind of stuff. And they use that as an attack on black people who are trying to forge and get ahead, and saying what imperialism, the United States government owes us as a people.
So King now has, in the possession of our enemies, has become a weapon against black people, the interests of black people, etc. I want us to remember this. Let's not take this sanitized Negro that they've offered us as some kind of example of what it is we're supposed to be about. Tomorrow there are going to be thousands of people out on the streets, looking at parades, enjoying themselves, allegedly in response to the existence of Dr. Martin Luther King. I want to say something about why there was a king and how that relates to where we are in history today. Because King didn't just drop out of the sky. And it wasn't just that someday somebody woke up and said, let's have a bus boycott and do all this other kind of. Something critical was happening in this country, in the whole world. And what had happened when King made that speech, what had happened was King had come around to some of the positions that the rest of us had come to earlier when we started talking about black power, and we began to talk about how the struggle in this country was united with the struggle against colonialism by the vast majority of peoples around the world. You listen to King. Nobody wanted King to make that speech who was in the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. They all warned him, don't bring up this international stuff. Martin, and he went against them all, against most of his so-called advisors, allies, and what have you, when he took the stance around Vietnam. And when he took the stance around Vietnam, this was an anti-colonial stance. And what you saw happening is a marriage between the struggle of African people in this country and struggles not only of people in Vietnam, but he mentioned Cambodia. He mentioned Peru, he mentioned Venezuela, he mentioned some of the same places in the world today where people are engaged in struggle trying to free themselves from imperialist white power.
That was something else, wasn't it? We don't see images. We don't see images of King that commonly, speaking that plainly about who he is and loving who he is and being black and proud. You don't see that. We saw it today. Embed that in your brain. Now we want to show two videos about the program of the Black Power Blueprint in St. Louis. Black Power Blueprint is a comprehensive community development plan that APEDF is leading to transform our impoverished black neighborhoods into positive, self-reliant communities with self-run programs to uplift our conditions in every aspect of life. Access to healthy food, healthcare, economic development, and education in our own interests. It is a blueprint that can and will be replicated in every city. Uhuru Furniture right here is a part of that blueprint. The first video is from the groundbreaking of the community basketball court, and we'll add on a photo of the finished court. This project was completed in 2022. Then we'll show you the project we're currently funding, the Uhuru Wakulia African Women's Health Center.
Visions are nothing unless they can be implemented. And so what this is about is helping the community to be able to see the future by changing the conditions, and in the process of changing the conditions, the people change themselves. They like to call this a food desert. But it's not a food desert, it's a power desert. That's what it's been. It's been a power desert. The people have not had power over our own lives. And young people who in this community, why is it? This community, young people are playing in the streets basketball using bicycle rims for hoops to play basketball. Why should black children have to do that? This is a heroic, extraordinary community, and you know it has to be extraordinary to survive under the circumstances that's been imposed on them by developers, by speculators, and by politicians. And that's what this basketball court is a part of overturning. So we're talking about the people being able to reclaim our own power and our own dignity. And so down the street from here, there's One Africa, One Nation marketplace where people can come up and then sell to each other. Money can begin to circulate in the community as a consequence of that. They're talking about the emergence of a DURA program. Women's health care is going to be provided right down the street from here, right in this community. We're initiating a fourplex here. That's for housing for Africans who have been in prison, to get out of prison, for a work relief, a work program where people can learn the culinary arts, can participate in that. So now we are in the process of helping the people to reclaim their leadership, reclaim their genius, reclaim their future. And this is what this basketball court is going to be about.
We can't forget John Rubeck, who took us over the top with the largest donation of the basketball court. He donated $50,000 towards the basketball. We will be remiss if we don't recognize the people who donated dollars, $5, $10, $20 to make this happen.
Photos of the basketball court. I don't know if anybody's ever visited St. Louis. You should go check it out. It's beautiful. St. Louis is a great town. And it's going to be even better after these projects take full bloom. And you know me?
Yes.
Okay. Just like MLK and Malcolm X, the Uhuru Movement and the Black Power Blueprint programs are under serious attack for struggling for the rights of the black community and transforming people's lives. This was manifested on July 29, 2022, with a pre-dawn raid on 7 homes and businesses of the Uhuru Movement simultaneously. The home of Chairman Omali and his wife, APEDF President Omali Yeshitela, the Uhuru House in St. Pete, Florida, the Uhuru Solidarity Center in St. Louis, and the homes of other Uhuru Movement leaders. They brought battering rams, flashbang grenades, drones. No one was arrested or even charged, but indictments may be imminent. We're going to have a slight change in our order of things. The video that is the special presentation by founder and leader, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, is going to be shown during lunchtime. We're going to now show the hands-off video.
The FBI has a federal warrant for this address. Keep your hands up and follow orders. This is the FBI. They have a warrant.
They handcuffed me and my wife out here. They wanted me to sit on the curb while they were carrying this out. Something that I refused to do. They wanted my wife to sit on the curb out here. That she refused to do it.
As I was coming out, this big old drone met me.
The only revolutionary organization that's done something here on the ground practically for African people is the one that's come under attack. Institution that offers a station, a newspaper, a commercial kitchen, an Aquaba Hall rental space, and community office for our organizers. That was the building that has come under attack.
Need a break for you. They want them. What's over there? Oh,
We will build a movement of white people that says hand off the Uhuru Movement.
They see in the African People's Socialist Party a vanguard for the struggle for the liberation of our people. They see that because not just what we do here in the United States, but because we had the temerity to do like Gandhi, to do like Malcolm X, and take the struggle of black people around the world.
I'm old enough to remember, in fact, I lived in a neighborhood with Fred Hampton. He was often a visitor in my immediate neighborhood. And I wasn't at home when they broke into his home and killed him and Mark Clark, but this is reminiscent of that behavior. And so I'm filled with rage, but I'm also filled with the desire to do some work and correct this so that it doesn't ever happen again. It will, but when it happens, if it happens again, we want to have a prepared response, just like we're doing today. Making preparations, making plans, and following through. Now, I want to say that we support and defend Chairman Omali and the right of African people to be free and self-determining people. If you agree, hang on in here today and let's do some work. I want to introduce Sister Tiffany Murphy, who's the leader of the Northern Region of the African People's Socialist Party and coordinator of another APEDF institution right here in Philly. One that I love and is dear to my heart, the One Africa, One Nation Marketplace. And that's my daughter, y'all. She's my social daughter. I claim all of you, whether you want me to or not. So come on up, daughter, and let's talk about what you do.
Can y'all hear me? Yes. Uhuru? Come on, wake up a little bit, y'all. Come on. It's a full room. I'm a little hard of hearing because I'm old. So here, give me a strong, hearty Uhuru. Uhuru! Uhuru! Uhuru and good morning. My name is Tiffany Murphy. I am the Northern Regional Representative for the African People's Socialist Party. I have the profound honor of leading another great institution here in Philadelphia, the One Africa, One Nation Marketplace. This marketplace is in Clark Park in West Philadelphia and runs from April to October every single year, monthly. Within that 6-month period, we also had 2 very large events. The Uhuru Health Festival and the One Africa, One Nation Uhuru Book Fair. These are really profound economic development programs and institutions, just like Uhuru Furniture and all of the institutions of the Black Power Blueprint, because it forwards self-reliance and self-determination. It also looks to materially solve a problem in the African community around the question of health, as well as the question of education and the disparities that's attached to that. So, today's theme, today's programmatic theme and overall theme is a theme of self-determination and self-reliance. That's really, really important because that is something that directly negates charity, which is what a lot of people associate Martin Luther King Day with: checking a box, painting a stool, and making yourself feel better. But we also have to pose the question, to what end? Especially when it comes to the liberation of Africans and oppressed people. What more can we do? What material problems can we solve? Because there are a myriad of problems that exist within the African community. And it's not through any fault of our own. It is systematic. It is due to colonialism. It is due to imperialism. So, while some of you are here to check a box, to perform an act of service, the hope is that the message that you receive, the words that you hear, will encourage you to stay, to volunteer, to do more and get uncomfortable in these uncomfortable times, because we need you. We need your time, we need your talent, we need your expertise. So please just keep that in mind. And that was just off the cuff. I didn't even get into the presentation, but I thought that was really, really important to say in light of just everything we've heard so far, the incredible work that has been done here at Uhuru Furniture and throughout all institutions of the Black Power Blueprint Project. Before I get into this presentation, I want to appreciate and salute my direct leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, for his relentless and tireless stance toward liberation for Africans and oppressed people, and for developing a theory of African internationalism. For those who may not be familiar with African internationalism, we have information here that will explain to you what African internationalism is. We also encourage you to ask questions at the end, or you can just pull me to the side, and I'll be more than welcome to have that conversation with you. But African internationalism that helps us understand these struggles and the world clearly. I also want to salute my direct leadership, Deputy Chair Omali Yeshitela, who is responsible for the vision, operation, execution, and implementation of over 50 institutions of the movement, including Uhuru Furniture and Collectibles right here in Philly, the One Africa, One Nation Uhuru Flea Market in West Philly, in which I had the honor of leading, and a whole lot more. And special thanks to Uhuru Furniture and Collectibles here in Philly for maintaining and building such a significant, long-standing programming institution, this MLK Day, and this outstanding furniture store. For those who may not be familiar with Uhuru Furniture and Collectibles, this institution right here, because it's so much more, and this is going to be a resounding theme throughout the rest of the program, it's so much more than just a furniture store where you buy and sell furniture and things like when you purchase furniture, but it's an economic development institution that defends the civil rights of Africans at every turn. We provide material solutions around the question of employment, anti-gentrification, and true representation for the African community. So I really want to, just really raise up and salute Uhuru Furniture and Collectibles for being unapologetic, for just putting the needs and protecting and defending the African community at all costs. So let's give a round of applause for Uhuru Furniture and Collectibles. Martin Luther King Jr. was a tremendous leader in the anti-colonial struggle, as you heard in today's video. He had a vision for forwarding self-determination and self-reliance in the African community. As you already know, King was murdered on April 4th, 1968. 2 days later, that same year, Bobby Hutton of the Black Panther Party was murdered. Both were murdered by the United States government, so we need to be clear about that. This period was critical because it represented the rise of resistance for Africans through organization. This is also known as the Black Power era. And with the military defeat of the African Revolution of the 1960s, the struggle still continued and still continues on to this day. I really appreciate the chairman's tireless work because he has continued the revolutionary work throughout the years by developing organizations to address critical questions of the revolution and answers speaking to the most important question, to what end? How can we see a future for ourselves beyond this chaos? How can we build the capacity to feed, clothe, and house ourselves? How do we address the question of gaining economic freedom after incarceration? These questions are addressed directly and clearly through this powerful project, the Black Power Blueprint, as you heard earlier. The Black Power Blueprint represents the future for a liberated Africa and is a dynamic model of self-determination for African people led by the Uhuru Movement. It is a project primarily based out of St. Louis to transform the conditions of the north side of St. Louis, to build Black community control of commerce and to reinstate the pride back to the African community. A quote from Chairman in his last political report to the 7th Party Congress reads, "Our institutions are part of an anti-colonial movement that strives to replace and directly contend with the existing economic arrangements that exist in this country. If you can tamper effectively with the economic arrangements, you mess with the political arrangements as well." And I'll say that again because that's a really profound statement. If you can tamper effectively with the economic arrangements, you mess with the political arrangements as well, meaning that institutions such as this actively disrupt the status quo. It negates and underscores white power at every turn and makes sure that African liberation is at the forefront. It is clear in its programming and its messaging. So the objective is to negate the authority and the influence of capitalism and colonialism in our lives. A direct quote from Deputy Chair Omali Yeshitela, the president of the African People's Education and Defense Fund, also says, "We are not waiting until the revolution is complete to learn how to govern. We are exercising self-government as part of this process of making our revolution for total liberation and unification of Africa and Africans globally." It starts with material institutions just like this. It starts with material programming to do what the system will not do for our people. Because of the Deputy Chair Omali Yeshitela's bold leadership and leading this economic work, everything has taken a qualitative leap. And you've seen that in the last video, especially the work that we're doing in St. Louis. And beginning in 2017 with the renovation of a 9,000 square foot building and transforming it into a state-of-the-art event center, space, and representation of liberated territory in St. Louis. And since then, we have also built a community garden, an outdoor stage, an open air space, a weekly farmers market that addresses the question of food insecurity and self-reliance and self-determination for economic development, where Black growers and farmers can sell their products right in the community. And most recently, you saw the basketball court. We are also developing and raising funds today for the Uhuru Center. This is really important around the question of the rights, the health of African women. In St. Louis alone, the maternal mortality rate is through the roof. Why are these things happening? Why is that African women can't successfully give birth the same way a white woman can? Because of colonial conditions. The stress that it causes on the body having to figure out where your next meal is going to come from, how you want to support your kids, how to take care of your basic needs. These things cause stressors in our body because of these colonial conditions. We understand that, and we are putting a material solution in place by developing this African Women's Center and taking it a step further with the African Doula program, where recently we trained 14 African women on how to become a doula. This is significant for a lot of different reasons, because these doulas will be able to go right into our neighborhoods and provide direct service. This is also negating the colonial health system, where a lot of these hospitals are encouraging African mothers to go ahead and make ill decisions based on capitalist principles. So, for example, if an African woman has the ability to have a natural childbirth, you'll have a lot of these white doctors that will make a recommendation to have a C-section because they have the capacity to go ahead and charge more to the insurance or charge more directly to the families. And making these kind of decisions doesn't benefit the health, the overall health and well-being of the African woman. It only benefits the system. This is why, important institutions and programs such as Uhuru Movement need to be put in place to go ahead and keep the liberation and keep the well-being physically and mentally. And I think it's important to say that of the African community, and most importantly, African women, because African women hold up everything. Let's say that. All right. So I say all this, and while much has been accomplished in St. Louis and across the country with the incredible work of the Black Power Blueprint, there is much more to be done. Your active and conscious presence today at this program and this project is an indicator of that, and for that we thank you. We're also asking you to volunteer your time at our economic development projects beyond today, as I said before. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about the One Africa, One Nation Marketplace. Over the last 18 years, the One Africa, One Nation Marketplace has been a critical economic development institution for the African community in Philadelphia by acting as a business incubator in the most deeply impoverished city in the U.S. where less than 3% of businesses are African owned. The northern region of the party leads this political and practical operation of the markets to ensure the African community has the ability to build Black community commerce, control commerce, as well as feed, clothe, and house ourselves and our families. Historically, we have fought tooth and nail against vicious attacks from the city of Philadelphia and Friends of Clark Park to secure the One Africa, One Nation's presence in the park. Over the last 2 years, various vendors have been setting up along Chester Avenue on the Park A side of Clark Park on Saturdays to catch traffic adjacent to the farmers market. And with the global pandemic shutting down the world and access to resources becoming more scarce, despite the city currently having a budget surplus of $500 million, it makes sense that the people take matters in their own hands and to make money by any means necessary. However, these vendors directly contend with the monthly markets, creating a significant loss of income for our long-term and newer vendors who have registered and paid a fee to vend under our permit. Some of our vendors have started setting up on a Park A side even after paying to vend with the One Africa, One Nation Marketplace on the Park A side to get that additional traffic. That's problematic. And I say this to say that this is not a struggle or an attack against the vendors that set up on the other side, because you do what you have to do. It is an attack, and it's a direct call to action for the city of Philadelphia and the Fairmount Park Commission to do something about this. Is really, really important because the One Africa, One Nation Marketplace has been in place for almost 20 years. So this is why we put the markets in place, to protect and defend vendors. So when the city allows something like this to happen with an institution that is already put in place, it's a form of counterinsurgency. We are forwarding this campaign to demand reparations for our African vendors who have lost so much income due to this contention that the Fairmount Park Commission and the city have allowed to happen, putting us in the middle of this unsavory situation. We're also asking the city to provide more resources to African businesses the low representation mentioned at the beginning of this overview. And right now we're asking for your support by signing our online petition at oneafricamarketphilly.org/petition. I'll say it again. oneafricamarketphilly.org/petition. And volunteering your skills and talent to the One Africa, One Nation Marketplace. Okay, I'll speed it up. The One Africa, One Nation Marketplace as we build for the 2023 Marketplace season and our opening event, the Health Festival. In conclusion, where some of you have stumbled and found this project in service of Martin Luther King Day, and many more of you are familiar with the incredible work being done here in all of our institutions, we hope that this program, visual, sounds, and most importantly, the message of self-determination will inspire and motivate you to keep coming back, to keep volunteering, to shop, support, and forward the message of self-determination and self-reliance like Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. So if you want to truly lift up King and his legacy, support and forward African self-determination institutions like Uhuru Furniture, like One Africa, One Nation Markets, and the Black Power Blueprint. Uhuru.
We was about to get the hook on you.
I saw it. Face turned around.
Okay, and I thank Tiffany for all of his hard work and incredible leadership she provides. And so now we're going to call Ruby, the UFC volunteer coordinator, who will make an appeal. And then we have open mic for you to come up and say why you chose to come here today to support African People's Education and Defense Fund, and to ask any questions. Ruby?
Uhuru. Thank you so much, Dr. Michelle, and I just really want to appreciate this program so far. It has been so powerful. This is the MLK Day that bridges the gap between that past history of struggle for African self-determination and the work and leadership that the Uhuru Movement is doing today to transform the conditions that exist in this world. So this is not some kind of abstract thing. This is dealing with reality. And as Dr. Michelle said, I'm Ruby. I'm part of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. That is an organization based in the white community, working under the leadership of the Uhuru Movement. And our work is to organize the white population, as was said in that video, to say hands off the Uhuru Movement and to say reparations to the African community. And that is really the only way that from the white community we can stand on the positive side of history instead of being the beneficiaries of hundreds and hundreds of years of genocide. So I want to just say a couple of things. I know we're running a little behind, so I don't want to take up too much time. Number one thing is we want to raise $300 today. So we want to call on everybody to make a donation, do what you can. Bub is in the back, he's passing around a basket. You can put in cash, you can put in checks, you can also donate online. You can go to the back and Amir will pull up the place for you to donate online, or you can donate, you can go on your phone, go to Uhuru Furniture Philly.blogspot.com, our website, and then you click on donate funds and you can donate, and that goes to the programs of the African People's Education and Defense Fund that we just saw. And while you're thinking of questions that you may want to add, or if you're thinking about what you want to say, and right after we do this, we're going to go out and we're going to train you on the volunteer project and then go out. But I just wanted to lay that out because we want to call on people to participate in any way you can with Uhuru Furniture, as Tiffany was saying. Shop, donate, volunteer. We've got a lot of our great volunteers participating today in making this event happen. But you can sign up to volunteer. We have volunteer opportunities every day we're open, which is Wednesday through Sunday. We have orientations for new volunteers every Thursday at 5:30, both live and on Zoom. We want people to come down and help grow this institution. Whatever skills you have, whatever interests you have, this is the place that they can be used, and has been said in many different ways during this program. This is much more than just a store. This is an institution that is transforming the conditions that exist in this country and world. So what we want to do now is see if anybody wants to come up, have a question, or make a brief statement. Like, people can come up and say for like 1 minute why you wanted to come and volunteer here at Uhuru Furniture. Thank you all so much for donating. I am going to donate $50 today to support Uhuru Furniture and the African People's Education and Defense Fund. I want to see if anybody wants to match me or top me. And it looks like the basket is going around. Yes, Harris.
I'll match you for 50.
All right. Uhuru. So that's 100 of the 300 right there. Anybody else want to make a pledge? Or I see the basket going around. Yes.
$25.
25. Uhuru. We're at 125. That's excellent. I think I see some more hands back there. Yes.
I'm going to do 25 too.
Renee, 25. Okay, we're at 150. Uhuru.
I donated 20.
You donated 20?
Yes.
Excellent. We're at 170.
I got some money in the basket.
Okay, fantastic. There's money in the basket. Excellent. Okay, I think we're doing pretty good. Anybody want to come up and say a quick comment or question? Yes. You want to come up and make a comment? Yes. Yeah, if you could leave it to about 1 minute, because we're a little behind schedule, but thanks. Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Isaac Foreman, and the reason why I volunteered for Uhuru Furniture today is First Martin Luther King holiday. Well, make a difference not only in here, but not only in the city of Philadelphia, but we gotta make differences throughout the United States with cities that's a lot of areas of poverty, strengthening, and gentrification. And we want, equality for everybody. And Martin Luther King stood up for that when he was alive, the civil rights movement, and we gotta continue in his legacy and live through his name, through his legacy today, and throughout his life, because he still was good. And I like to volunteer to get my time back, not only for this day, but even more so throughout later in my life, because, like I said, racism is still a big problem in this country, and we need to all come together as one. Not everybody want to see it like that, but I want to get my time out to help out as much as I can in the community, Philadelphia and other cities throughout this country and throughout this world. All right? Thank you.
go ahead and catch that traffic, right? You're supposed to have some type, you're not supposed to openly bend in the park, in Fairmount Park. A lot of people don't understand that. So Fairmount Park in the city of Philadelphia is just allowing these folks to go ahead and just set up that directly contends with a market that is doing everything that is asked by Fairmount Park, right? Because of this, many of our vendors are losing significant income, and they're using that income to go ahead and feed, clothe, and house their folks, pay tuition for kids, for their kids' schools and things like that. We're also losing significant traffic. So why would you directly contend with something that's doing the right thing for the African community and building African community commerce, right? It's just problematic when you have folks that are not doing what they're supposed to do and getting permits and things like that. But again, we're not having the contention with these vendors. We're having the contention with the city that's allowing this to happen. So that's the struggle, and we're trying to work with Fairmount Park and really push back to make sure that the institution that we are partnered with, that they've been partnering with for almost 20 years, is protected, right? So we can go ahead and continue to serve Africans. Yeah, that wasn't the intention to go ahead and kind of interrupt this, but hopefully I answered your question.
I have a question. Was there ever a reason given as to why the chairman's home and the Uhuru organization were raided? Was there ever a reason why?
The state will never have a response as to why they feel like, an appropriate response. I think it's important to say that, as to why they felt like they needed to go ahead and break into folks' homes, steal their personal devices and things like that. But, the chairman has, gone off to say, and, he's appropriate, and we've seen this happen before with the Black Panther Party. Any kind of disruption of the status quo or white power, so to speak, will always be a disturbance for the state. And the state feels like they need to intervene with violence. So, this is how they respond. But the work still continues. This hasn't hampered any work, so. Yeah, I mean, they were named as unindicted co-conspirators, but they were named as unindicted co-conspirators. So, I mean, I guess that was part of their response. But what is an unindicted co-conspirator, right? It doesn't make any sense. So, again, this is an attack not only on our chairman, but it's an attack on all African people. I think that's important to say because of the work that we do. But again, the work continues because of the presence and the board movement of programs and institutions just like this. So it's important that you just continue to show up, you support volunteers.
There's another question in the back.
I didn't have a question, but I had a statement.
Do you want to come up?
Sure.
Thank you. And just to let everybody know, we raised $315, and we exceeded our goal. And if somebody wanted to go on to donate online on our computer, that's back over in the corner.
Another 20 back here. 15, 20.
Another 20? Okay, so 335.
Thank you.
Another 25.
Another 25. We counted you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Cassandra Boulding, and I have more of a statement than a question. I'm a psychologist, and I opened the Black Lotus Holistic Health Collective, which is in the middle of Pacific Park, and it is a collective of BIPOC healers, practitioners, clinicians who are centered in their healing so that we can heal our community. We offer trauma-informed yoga, meditation, individual, group, and family psychotherapy, as well as sound therapy, massage therapy, reflexology, all the things that are trauma-informed. And I say that because in this work, much of the time, one of the things that is ignored and not addressed is our mental health. In the midst of the work that we're doing, in the midst of the struggles, in the midst of the traumatic experiences, the collective trauma that we experience as Black and brown people. So that's something that I think I wanted to kind of present because, it's something that we don't often think about because we're so passionate about the work that we do we don't think about the toll that it takes on us and thereby, you know, on our families and our communities as well.
Okay, I think we're going to move forward to our next step here, which is to give you a little overview on the No, you can take it. We're going to give you a little overview about the project.